My brothers and sisters, many people believe that happiness comes from other people. They say, if only I had the right friends, the right partner, the right company, I would finally feel whole. But what happens when those people leave? What happens when they change, disappoint you, or simply aren't there? Does your happiness disappear with them? You see, if your peace depends on people, you'll always be at their mercy. But if your peace comes from Allah, you become unshakable. Today, I want to remind you of something powerful. You can be happy without needing anyone else to validate you. And when you reach that point, everything in your life changes. My brothers and sisters, one of the deepest struggles we face in life is this. We tie our happiness to people. From a young age, we're conditioned to believe that our value comes from how others see us. We crave praise. We want to be accepted. We hope people will love us, choose us, stand by us. And when they do, we feel good. We feel worthy. But when they ignore us, abandon us, betray us, suddenly we feel empty, broken, like we've lost everything. Why? Because we built our emotional home in people's hands. We gave them the power to define how we feel, how we think, even how we see ourselves. And that, my brothers and sisters, is a dangerous way to live. People are not constant. They have moods. They change. They get tired. They get distracted. Some will love you today and leave you tomorrow. Some will praise you in public and hurt you in private. Some will only stay as long as you benefit them and disappear the moment you need them. So if your happiness depends on these people, what happens when they walk away? What happens when they hurt you? Or when they stop giving you the attention you once relied on? You break. You lose yourself. And that's not how Allah wants you to live. You see, real happiness doesn't come from people. It comes from something much deeper. It comes from your connection with your Creator. Allah is the only one who knows you completely and still loves you unconditionally. He never leaves. He never changes. He doesn't get bored of your problems. He doesn't get tired of your tears. He doesn't stop answering your du'as just because you made a mistake. Yet we overlook this relationship and spend all our time chasing approval from people who can't even guarantee their own happiness. That's why so many of us feel anxious, insecure, or constantly emotionally exhausted. Because we are depending on temporary sources for something that only Allah can truly provide. Peace, contentment, security, identity. Some of us have been taught maybe indirectly that we are not enough unless someone else says so. So we become addicted to people's praise. If they praise us, we feel seen. If they ignore us, we feel invisible. But what if I told you, you were already enough before anyone clapped for you, before anyone chose you, before anyone validated your worth? Because your value didn't come from their words, it came from Allah's decision to create you. And Allah doesn't make worthless things. So the next time you find yourself asking, why don't they care about me? Why don't they check on me? Why am I always the one reaching out? Pause and ask a different question instead. Why have I allowed their actions to control my emotions? Why is my happiness in their hands when it should be in Allah's? This shift, this realization is the beginning of emotional freedom. Because once you stop chasing people to feel whole and start seeking Allah to feel at peace, you stop surviving and start living. My brothers and sisters, we've been taught by the world to measure happiness by what we have and who is around us. If we have money, we're happy. If we have the right people in our lives, we're happy. If people like us, we're happy. But let's be honest, that kind of happiness is fragile. The moment your bank balance drops, the moment someone leaves you, the moment people stop praising you, it shatters. And you're left wondering, what happened to my peace? That's because what you thought was happiness was actually just a temporary emotional high. Real happiness is much deeper. It's not tied to circumstances. It's not dependent on people. It's not here one day and gone the next. Real happiness is contentment. Contentment is when your heart is settled, even if your life is not perfect. It's when you can smile even through tests. It's when you say, Alhamdulillah, not because everything went your way, but because you trust Allah's way. Allah tells us in the Quran, indeed, in the remembrance of Allah do hearts find rest. Notice He didn't say minds find rest or lives find rest. He said hearts, because true peace starts on the inside. You can have the world in your hands but still be empty inside. And you can have very little but feel rich in your heart. That's the power of contentment. It has nothing to do with possessions and everything to do with perspective. When your happiness comes from Allah, you stop chasing people to make you feel loved. You stop expecting life to be perfect before you can be grateful. You stop feeling insecure about being alone because you know you're never truly alone. Being alone with Allah is not loneliness, it's intimacy with your Creator. It's when you pour your heart out in sujood and realize that He hears you. It's when you wake up for tahajjud and feel that quiet calm in your soul. It's when you open the Quran and feel like Allah is speaking directly to you. And here's the truth. When you have that inner peace, your whole life changes. You stop overthinking every word someone says to you. You stop chasing relationships that are draining you. You start protecting your peace because you realize it's a blessing from Allah, not something to be thrown away for temporary company. People will notice the difference too. They'll wonder, why does this person seem so calm, so happy, so unaffected by negativity? And it's because you've learned the secret. Your peace doesn't come from people. It comes from the one who made people. My brothers and sisters, there comes a moment, and for some, it takes years to reach when you realize something life-changing. You don't need people to complete you. You don't need their approval to validate you. You don't need constant attention to feel worthy. This is not arrogance. This is freedom. When you shift your heart from depending on people to depending on Allah, your whole emotional world changes. It's as if a heavy weight you've been carrying for years is suddenly lifted off your shoulders. Before this shift, you were always waiting. Waiting for someone to check on you. Waiting for someone to notice your effort. Waiting for someone to make you feel valued. And when they didn't, your heart sank. You felt rejected, invisible. But now, you no longer live in that prison. You've discovered a deeper truth. Your worth is not in their hands. When you rely on Allah for your happiness, you can go through a day without a single compliment and still feel content. You can sit in silence without feeling lonely. You can face criticism without crumbling because you know that people's opinions don't define your reality. You start to measure your life by how close you are to Allah, not by how close people are to you. And that shift changes everything. The way you speak, the way you think, the way you respond to pain. Let me tell you something, my brothers and sisters. When your emotional stability comes from people, they can destroy it with a single word. But when your emotional stability comes from Allah, no one can take it away. That's why the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, taught us to tie our hearts to the one who never leaves. Because people will change, people will disappoint, people will forget. But Allah is constant. And here's the beautiful irony. The moment you stop desperately clinging to people for happiness, the healthier your relationships become. You stop suffocating people with your expectations. You start giving more than you take. You allow people to be human, to make mistakes without it destroying your peace. This shift, this release, it's the key to living with a heart that's light, a mind that's clear, and a soul that's at rest. Because you finally understand you were never meant to be completed by people. You were meant to be completed by Allah. When you reach this place of inner strength, this place where your heart leans only on Allah, something amazing happens. You start to love people better. You see, when your happiness doesn't depend on someone's actions, you're free to love them without fear. You're free to be kind without keeping score. You're free to help without expecting the same in return. Why? Because your emotional cup is already full. You're not looking at people to fill it. You're pouring from what Allah has already placed inside you. Before, you might have been in friendships or relationships where you gave only because you hoped to get something back: attention, appreciation, loyalty. And when it didn't come, you felt drained. Now, you give because you see it as an act of worship. You help because you know Allah is the one who rewards, not necessarily the person you helped. You stop thinking, if they don't thank me, I'll stop helping. Instead, you think, I wasn't doing it for them anyway. I was doing it for Allah. This change removes so much tension from your life. You no longer panic when people take a step back because you're not emotionally anchored to them in the first place. You appreciate their presence, but you're not destroyed by their absence. It's like standing firmly on solid ground instead of trying to balance on a moving boat. People can come and go, tides can rise and fall, but you're steady because your foundation is unshakable. And that's when you realize needing people makes you weak, but appreciating them without depending on them makes you strong. It allows you to have relationships built on mutual respect, not silent desperation. It lets you enjoy company without fearing loss. You can love deeply, but you can also let go peacefully when it's time, because you know your heart is safe in the hands of the one who made it. And my brothers and sisters, this strength changes your energy. When you're no longer desperate for someone's approval or presence, you carry yourself differently. You walk into a room with quiet confidence, not because you think you're better than anyone, but because you're no longer begging for anyone to make you feel like you matter. People feel that. They sense the calm in you, the lack of neediness, the steadiness in your heart. It makes you magnetic in a different way, not because you're trying to impress, but because you are simply at peace with who you are. You start to notice how many of your past frustrations came from expecting others to be your source of happiness. How much time you wasted replaying conversations in your head, worrying about who likes you and who doesn't, feeling anxious over who didn't call or message back. Now, your focus shifts. You spend more time in gratitude for what you already have. You notice the blessings you overlooked before. You find joy in simple moments: a quiet cup of tea, a walk in fresh air, a heartfelt dua in the stillness of the night. The irony is that when you stop chasing people, you actually draw the right people into your life, because genuine connections thrive when they're not weighed down by unrealistic expectations. Your relationships start to feel lighter, more mutual, more sincere. And here's the beauty: you can be fully present with people without being dependent on them. You can enjoy someone's company today without fearing their absence tomorrow. You can appreciate them while still knowing that if they walk away, your life will go on, your heart will heal, and your peace will remain, because it was never in their hands to begin with. This is emotional freedom. This is what happens when you finally understand that only Allah has the power to sustain your happiness. Everyone else is a blessing, not a lifeline. And when you see it this way, you live lighter, you love better, and you sleep with a calmer heart. My brothers and sisters, once you've reached that place where your happiness is no longer tied to people, the journey doesn't end, it actually begins. Because peace, once you've tasted it, needs to be guarded. You see, the world will always try to pull you back into old habits. Someone will say something hurtful, someone will disappoint you. Life will test you with situations that tempt you to rely on people again instead of relying on Allah. That's why you have to build a wall around your peace, not to shut people out, but to protect what Allah has placed in your heart. One way to do this is by setting healthy boundaries. Boundaries are not walls of pride, they are lines of self-respect. They say, I can love you, but I won't allow you to drain me. I can be there for you, but I won't let you destroy my peace. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, taught us that not everyone needs to know everything about your life. Protect your private matters. Protect your emotional space. When you stop oversharing with people who misuse your trust, you automatically reduce unnecessary hurt. Another way is by controlling what you feed your mind and heart. If you constantly expose yourself to negativity, gossip, and comparisons, don't be surprised when your peace feels shaky. Instead, feed your soul with Quran, good company, positive reminders, and acts of worship. Replace endless scrolling with moments of dhikr. Replace dwelling on the past with planning for the future. And perhaps most importantly, learn to walk away when necessary. There's a difference between being patient and being trapped. Patience is noble, but staying in situations that destroy you emotionally and spiritually is not patience, it's self-neglect. Sometimes walking away is not an act of selfishness, it's an act of gratitude to Allah for the peace He's given you. You're saying, Ya Allah, I value the calm you placed in my heart too much to hand it over to someone who doesn't care for it. Remember, my brothers and sisters, peace is not found once and then kept forever without effort. It's something you nurture daily, protect fiercely, and renew constantly through your relationship with Allah. Because in this noisy world, peace is not the absence of problems, it's the presence of Allah in your heart, no matter the problems. And my brothers and sisters, the more you protect your peace, the more you realize something very important. Not everyone deserves the same access to your heart. We often think that being a good Muslim means letting everyone in, tolerating every behavior, and absorbing every insult. But the truth is, Islam teaches balance. Yes, we are patient, yes, we are forgiving, but we are also wise. And wisdom means knowing who to keep close, who to keep at a distance, and who to leave entirely in the hands of Allah. You see, every time you let someone's negativity camp in your mind rent-free, you're giving away a piece of your peace. Every time you let someone's approval or disapproval control your mood, you're handing over the steering wheel of your happiness. Protecting your peace means choosing carefully who you allow to influence your thoughts, your time, and your energy. It's not arrogance, it's survival. It's gratitude for the tranquility Allah has gifted you after years of storms. And here's the thing, when you live like this, some people won't understand. They'll say you've changed. They'll accuse you of being distant or cold. But in reality, you've just learned to stop lighting yourself on fire to keep others warm. You've realized that you can be kind without being used, generous without being drained, and loving without losing yourself. And this, my brothers and sisters, is one of the greatest blessings, the ability to stand in the middle of a chaotic world with a heart that's calm, not because life is perfect, but because you've anchored it to the one who never changes. When you have that, you don't just survive life, you live it with dignity, confidence, and gratitude. When you start living with this mindset, you'll notice something beautiful. Your reactions to life begin to change. Before, a harsh word could ruin your whole day. Now, it barely leaves a scratch. Before, a person's absence would leave you feeling abandoned. Now, you see it as Allah's way of clearing space for better things. This is what happens when you guard your heart. You stop giving people the power to break you so easily. You begin to recognize that not every battle is worth fighting. Not every comment is worth responding to. And not every invitation into drama is worth accepting. You learn the art of silence not as weakness, but as strength. You start to choose your peace over your ego, your future over your frustration, your growth over your grudges. Protecting your peace also means knowing when to step away and recharge. Sometimes this means pulling back from social media. Sometimes it's taking a walk alone to reflect. Sometimes it's just sitting quietly with the Quran and letting its words wash away the dust from your heart. These small acts of retreat aren't running away, they're refueling so you can come back stronger. And here's the most powerful part. The more you protect your peace, the more it protects you. When challenges come, you don't collapse at the first sign of hardship. When people test you, you don't immediately react with anger or hurt. Instead, you respond from a place of calm, wisdom, and trust in Allah's plan. This is when you realize peace is not just a blessing you enjoy, it's armor you wear. It shields you from the chaos of the world and keeps your heart soft, your mind clear, and your soul connected to the one who matters most. When your peace becomes your armor, you start to experience life differently. Things that used to overwhelm you no longer hold the same power. You stop chasing answers for every why in your life because you trust that Allah's wisdom is far greater than your understanding. This doesn't mean you stop feeling. You still have emotions. You still feel hurt, disappointment, and sadness, but they no longer control you. Instead of drowning in them, you acknowledge them, you learn from them, and you hand them over to the one who can handle them better than you ever could. You see, there's a big difference between living in reaction to the world and living in connection with Allah. When you live in reaction, you're always pulled this way and that by people's opinions, by news, by gossip, by situations you can't control. But when you live in connection, you're anchored. Yes, the waves still hit you, but you don't drift away. Protecting your peace also transforms your priorities. You begin to spend less time proving yourself to people and more time improving yourself for Allah. You start to choose your battles with eternity in mind, not just temporary satisfaction. Suddenly, your conversations, your friendships, and your goals all shift towards things that actually bring value to your soul. And the most liberating part, you stop fearing loss because you understand that nothing you lose in the path of Allah is truly a loss. If it was taken from you, it was never meant for your long-term good. And if it's meant for you, nothing and no one can keep it from reaching you. When that truth settles in your heart, you move through life lighter, not because the road is easy, but because you're no longer carrying the unnecessary weight of needing everyone to approve of you, stay with you, or validate you. This is the kind of inner freedom that makes people wonder, how do they stay so calm? But you know the answer, it's not you holding it together. It's Allah holding you together. My brothers and sisters, when you build your life on the foundation of Allah's guidance, not people's approval, you become unshakable. It's not that storms stop coming, they will. Loss will still visit you. Challenges will still test you. Hearts will still break. But your roots will be so deep that even in the fiercest winds, you will bend but you will not break. Think of a strong tree in a storm. The rain falls, the wind howls, the branches shake, but the roots, buried deep in the earth, keep it standing. That's what happens when your heart is rooted in Allah. The world can throw its worst at you, but you stay grounded. When others panic, you breathe. When others complain, you pray. When others run in fear, you stand in trust. Why? Because you know that your provision is not in people's hands. Your future is not in people's hands. Your peace is not in people's hands. It has always been and will always be in Allah's hands. And here's the secret. When you stop needing people to hold you up, you become far more resilient. You can face a disappointment without collapsing. You can walk through uncertainty without losing hope. You can endure heartbreak without becoming bitter because you know the one who allowed it will also heal you. Sometimes the very storms that you think will destroy you are the ones that actually reveal how strong your faith has become. You look back and realize, if this had happened to me years ago, I would have fallen apart. But now, Alhamdulillah, I can still smile, I can still sleep, I can still pray with a heart that trusts. This is the reward of learning to be happy without depending on others. You gain a strength that can't be taken away because it's built on the eternal, not the temporary. And when you have that, you stop fearing the future because you know the one who controls it. When you arrive at this stage, life starts to feel lighter, not because the problems are gone, but because the weight of depending on people is gone. You no longer live in constant fear of what if they leave me or what if they disappoint me, because your security is not tied to them anymore. You begin to see people for what they are, human beings, just like you, capable of both kindness and mistakes. So when they fail you, it doesn't crush you. When they misunderstand you, it doesn't destroy your confidence. When they walk away, it doesn't take your joy with them. Why? Because you never handed them your joy in the first place. And here's the amazing thing. This doesn't make you colder. In fact, it makes you warmer. When you no longer expect people to be your source of happiness, you're able to love them more purely, without conditions. You help them without silently keeping score. You forgive them without waiting for them to deserve it. You give without the heavy burden of expecting something back. Your relationships become healthier because they are no longer built on neediness but on genuineness. You no longer cling to people out of fear. You connect with them out of